Let's go to the history. Hey everyone, welcome back to History Hijinks. Today, we're diving into the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, basically the power couple of 16th century Europe. Think of it as Game of Thrones meets The Crown, but with more nobles and fewer dragons. Okay, maybe fewer dragons. So, in 1569, Lithuania and Poland decided to become best friends, like that duo in a buddy comedy, launching what we now call the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. They called it the Republic of Both Nations, which is fancy talk for we're one big political mashup, but we still keep our own snacks and secret Facebook accounts basically. They set up one big government, shared foreign policy, customs, and even a common currency. But don't worry, they kept their own armies, because nothing screams medieval independence like having your own army, right? The Lithuanian tribunal was also created in 1581. Think of it as the Supreme Court of European nobility, because obviously nobles need their own court. Now, after Sigismund II Augustus died in 1572, things got extra spicy. They were supposed to pick a joint king, but the Lithuanian nobles, kind of like that friend who always wants their way, said, nah, we're not just going to blindly follow Poland. We want to choose our own. So, in 1576, they had this big noble meeting in Grodno, where they basically said, if Poland pressures us, we'll just pick our own king. Thank you very much. Fast forward to 1580, the Grand Duke Stephen Bathory got a fancy ceremony in Vilnius, presented a royal sword and cap, blessed by the Pope, basically giving Lithuania's sovereignty a major upgrade. Lithuania was like, hey, we're still our own boss, but we'll still hang out with Poland at the royal party's languages? Oh boy. Lithuanian was like that kid in school who was still popular in the countryside, but in the city? Polish and Ruthenian took over the mic. By the late 1500s, even the nobility was Polonized. Kind of like how everyone's favorite snack, Polish sausage, became the way to feel fancy. Yet, Lithuanian? Still hanging in there, especially in Samagisha, where nobles still whispered sweet Lithuanian whispers in religion. It was a bit like the medieval version of Multicultural Day in school. The majority were Eastern Orthodox, think of it as Lithuania's original team. But then the Reformation hits, and some nobles go Protestant, Calvinist to be specific, while others still stayed Catholic. By the time of the Union of Brest in 1596, some of them became uniates, kind of like religious hybrid cars blending Orthodox and Catholic stuff. Because why not? Let's keep everyone happy, until they start fighting over who gets the last piece of cake. Now the Commonwealth was awesome. It was Europe's breadbasket, supplied grain along the Danzig to Amsterdam route, and the universities. They were top-notch, especially Vilnius University, which was like the Harvard of Eastern Europe, but, like all great teams, eventually cracks started to show. Wars, uprisings, and constant fights over power. From 1648's Khmelnytsky Uprising to the Great Northern War, it was a roller coaster of destruction. Vilnius was burned, looted, and our good old Grand Duchy took some heavy hits. And with each blow, the Commonwealth slowly unraveled. By 1795, after the three partitions, think of it as the oldest political breakup, Lithuania disappeared for over a century. The territory got sliced and diced between Russia, Prussia, and Austria like a fancy pie getting cleanly divided. Wow, what a ride. From a superpower joint state to a shattered relic. Classic case of too much bureaucracy, not enough reforms. But hey, Lithuania's spirit? Always alive. And in the 20th century, they finally got their independence back. Talk about a comeback story. So, after the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth disintegrated in 1795, Lithuania found itself in the hands of the Russian Empire. Vilnius? Yeah, that shiny city was now part of the Vilna Governorate, and probably wondering, when do I get to be my own boss again? But don't worry, Lithuania's spirit was still alive, especially in Vilnius University, which in 1803 got a fancy upgrade by Tsar Alexander I. He basically turned it into the Harvard of the Russian Empire. But let's be honest, nobody was about to let Lithuania forget it was officially under Russian control. So the university was like the rebellious teen hiding secret messages in its textbooks. Meanwhile, some Lithuanians cheered Napoleon Bonaparte's Grande Armée in 1812, like those rebels at the big family reunion who said, "Let's welcome the French as our liberators." But then Napoleon got his big defeat. Kind of like the guy who shows up late to the party, tries to steal the show, and gets kicked out early. After that, Tsar Alexander I decided to keep Vilnius University open. Smart move. Because even under empire, Lithuanians love learning. But the Russian authorities weren't about to let Lithuanians forget. They cracked down on the Lithuanian language, shutting down schools and banning printing in Lithuanian, which historically was like trying to keep the coolest kid in class from talking. Of course, Lithuanians weren't going to just give up. They smuggled Lithuanian books from East Prussia, like how you hide snacks in your backpack when parents aren't looking. The language stayed alive, especially in rural areas of East Prussia, sometimes called Lithuania Minor, because even then Lithuanians knew no one could keep their language down forever. And let's talk culture. By the late 1800s, Lithuanians were turning into the original bookworms of the Baltic. Underground newspapers like Aušra, which means the dawn, started printing in Latin characters banned by the Russians. Imagine risking your freedom just to print a newspaper in Lithuanian. No wonder those guys are the true heroes of free speech. But the best part? Huge waves of Lithuanians emigrated to the U.S. About 635,000 of them left between 1868 and 1914. Pretty much everyone's great-great-grandpa was probably on that boat, dreaming of a better life back home. Lithuanians kept fighting back. In 1905, the Great Seimas of Vilnius demanded provincial autonomy. Basically, Lithuania saying, "Hey, can we just be our own country now?" The Tsar's government made some concessions, but nothing serious, like a boss promising to let you take longer lunch breaks, but then giving you a tiny sandwich instead. But then, World War I hits, and Vilnius falls to the Germans in 1915. And suddenly, Lithuania is caught in the biggest geopolitical game of dominoes, with Germany planning to create a network of dependent, semi-autonomous states. Think of it as the empire saying, "You guys can try to be independent, but we'll make it look like you're free," just like a fancy gift box with a ribbon. But it's still a box, folks. So Lithuania's story during WWI was basically a roller coaster. Bittersweet, full of hopes for independence, and secretly planning the ultimate comeback. If you enjoyed this glimpse into Lithuania's turbulent history, hit that like button, subscribe for more epic stories, and stay tuned for the next chapter.